Welcome to All the Ball, everybody, presented by UATV. I'm your host, Justin Spears, joined alongside here, a familiar face here at UATV, Brian Danziger. Brian, last time I actually saw you, you were covering national championship for college football.
That's right.
How was that experience?
Oh man, it was a great experience. Really enjoyed it. Being on the field is once in a lifetime, and it was a great time.
And, man, what an incredible game between Alabama and Clemson. We'll talk more about college football. On the Arizona side, spring football coming up here at the top of the hour. We got UATV General Manager and Arizona Athletics videographer Zach Hynek joining the program. We're talking some Arizona basketball here to open up the show, and we'll also get into some NBA trade deadlines. Like I said, Arizona football, and, of course, our final segment, Bruh. So, anyways, we're talking Arizona basketball. Arizona taking on the ASU Sun Devils Wednesday night, knocking them off 99-61. Now, Arizona played probably the best two halves of basketball that I have seen all year long. And of course, ASU, the rivalry's big, formerly known as basura down here, which is Spanish for trash. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. But so they opened up the game on an 8-0 run. But then ASU closed the gap to 1, and then Arizona ended the half on a 14-2 run, and they were up by 12 going into the halftime. Then the second half comes, and they just blow up. Brian, what are your thoughts just from the game?
I think that Arizona is really starting to come together. Caleb Tarczewski is getting a lot of rebounds, and he is being paired up with Mr. Dusan, who is also getting a lot of boards, and the one Achilles heel that Arizona needs to work on is free throws.
Yeah.
If they can, master that, I think they can make a run in the tournament.
And I'm glad you bring up that point, because free throws is such a big part of the game, obviously, because if you have an aggressive player like Alonzo Trier, or even an aggressive player who likes to get into the paint, like a guy like Parker Jackson Cartwright, who gets in the paint and then dishes it out, I think making your free throws is very, very key. Major key alert. Shout out to my guy DJ Khaled. But Arizona, against ASU, they shot 71% from the free throw line. Now, it's not bad, but like they always say, there's always room for improvement. So I'm glad you bring that up. And, getting to the paint is so important. It's a major part of the game. But, going back to what you said about Caleb Tarczewski had 15 rebounds, which is a career high for him. Now, going into the season, or everybody thought that, okay, Caleb Tarczewski is the only returning starter coming back. He's going to have a big season. But then, of course, a guy like Alonzo Trier, Ryan Anderson comes in and steal his mojo. But then you go into the Oregon game, and then obviously you have the shot of Sean Miller just absolutely screaming at Caleb Tarczewski, looking like a pit bull trying to be held back. But he had his hands behind his back because he didn't want to put a hand on him. But then after that game, Sean Miller said, this is a team sport. If you want to play individual sport, go play tennis. And I thought that was the best thing that Sean Miller could have ever said, because then moving forward, he went over to his three seniors, Ryan Anderson, Caleb Tarczewski, and Gabe York, and said, hey, what do you guys want your legacy to be? Since then, Caleb Tarczewski has averaged 11 rebounds a game ever since that Oregon loss.
Yeah, he was a highly recruit coming out, Caleb Tarczewski, and I think he's really starting to come into his own his senior season, leading the team, and I think that could play a big factor when it comes tournament time to lean on that senior leadership.
So, I get it, because Caleb Tarczewski, he's a senior. Going into this season, he didn't have his name on too many draft boards. So when you're a senior and you're trying to get into the NBA, especially, like you said, a highly touted recruit coming out, you want to stack up the stat sheet. You want to be able to show that, hey, I'm very capable of scoring. I'm very capable of putting this team on the back. But at the same time, it also looks a lot better when you're doing the little things on a very great team. And that's one thing I think that Caleb Tarczewski is definitely working on very well, is after the press conference against Arizona State, he said, a man once came up to me and said, it's not about the numbers, it's about the letters. It's not about how many points, how many rebounds you score, but it's just about getting W's and wins for your team.
Exactly.
Well, so I think Caleb Tarczewski is playing the best team basketball right now, and I think out of all 4 years that he's been here, this is his best basketball. I've seen him score as a freshman. I haven't seen him rebound like this. He's on a totally different stratosphere on the rebounding end.
Yeah, he's playing like a man amongst boys and getting those boards, and I think that could really create second opportunities on the offensive end for the team. And Alonzo Trier is coming on, after that hand injury, and he's starting to play good as well. And he's put up 20 points against ASU. And I think if we can get rebounds, make free throws, I think we can make a good run at this thing.
Now, Alonzo Trier, you said he came off the broken hand injury, was out roughly a month and a half. And Alonzo Trier is the kind of guy where he was the leading scorer on the team, averaged 20 points a game. He goes down, what happens? Arizona pretty much picked up right where they left off. They didn't skip a beat at all. And then he comes back, he has the cast on his hand, like the bandages. And there were so many times, especially in the game against Washington, where he would fall on the ground and he would slam his hands on the ground.
Yeah, you were getting nervous. What is this guy doing?
And I'm like, whoa. I felt like the Drake and Josh with the theater thug. Just take it easy, man. So, but he seems more comfortable. And now that he's back and he's finally scoring, he scored 20 points against Arizona State. Alonzo Trier is looking like the Alonzo Trier that we all expected to be, and he's playing fantastic basketball. So I think moving forward, Caleb Tarczewski, Alonzo Trier has definitely got to be the go-to options. I mean, no offense to a guy like Gabe York and Ryan Anderson, because they're playing phenomenal basketball right now. Gabe York had 18 points against Arizona State. Of course, he's shooting his three-point as well. Ryan Anderson got Pac-12 Player of the Week following the Washington trip. Everybody is playing fifth-gear basketball right now. Now, my question to you, Brian, is is Arizona in fifth gear right now, or is the best yet to be seen?
I think the best yet to be seen. I mean, They're starting to really come into their own now. Before the UCLA game, I was like, is this team going to make a run? What are they going to do? And then these last three games, they've been, they're back.
On a whole nother level.
And I think, once they get in the Pac-12 tournament, and I think they'll make a run there, I think they can do some damage if they, play Sean Miller basketball and get those rebounds.
And it was so funny because obviously NBA All-Star Weekend was this past weekend, and of course guys like T.J. McConnell, Ronnie Hollis Jefferson, Stanley Johnson, they're not in the mix for the All-Star Weekend. Right. So what do? They all take a trip back down to Tucson, and man, they showed Stanley and Rondi on the big board against UCLA, and then they showed T.J. McConnell. I've never heard a crowd scream so much for T.J. McConnell.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, he's, I think it was a fan favorite when he was here, and it's, it's really nice to see players like that come back and show their support and, give the fans, say, hey, I'm back and I'm here to support you guys on the All-Star break.
Yeah, and I actually went up and talked to T.J. when he came back, and I saw him in his seat, and I asked him, I was like, hey, how does it feel to be back here? And he was like, it's so amazing to be back here in Tucson, with all the love that I get here. He says he's so grateful for everything that Tucson has done for him. And like he said in his final statement following the loss against Wisconsin, he said, thank you, Tucson, for letting me be your point guard for 2 years. So I thought that was great. And also, there's kind of more of a that could go towards bruh, but Derrick Rose sitting again.
I don't know what that was about.
I don't. Well, apparently his girlfriend is a grad student here at the university. Okay. But it was just so weird because I woke up that day and I did not expect to see Derrick Rose at McHale Center, and he was kind of like incognito. He had his hand over his face. He had a security guard kind of around him. So, but anyways, let's move along. We're gonna talk about Arizona's striding right now. They got Colorado and Utah next week. They're taking on Colorado on Thursday, Utah on Saturday. Brian, how do you think those games are going to pan out?
I think it could be a little bit of a struggle in Colorado. Yes, they're coming off from a high at ASU, but it's always tough in the Mile High City.
Yeah.
And I think Arizona will pull it off, but I think Alonzo Trier playing well, Caleb Tarczewski, Ryan Anderson, the transfer from Boston College. I think Arizona will pull it out and play well in these two games here.
Now, I look at a team like Colorado and Utah, and something that Arizona hasn't seen the past couple weeks is a team that can match up with them well, like on the height.
Right.
So Colorado has Josh Scott, Utah has Jacob Podol. Those are two guys that are capable of anchoring their teams for a win. And I don't think Arizona has seen a team this season outside of Gonzaga where their team is just carried by bigs. And I think that's going to be key because if they can get physical and they can get to the line and get their bigs in foul trouble, That's going to be the best way for Arizona to win, and even vice versa. Going back to USC and UCLA, their issue is that Tony Parker, Thomas Welsh got into foul trouble,
right.
So they weren't able to match up physically with him, and that's when Arizona's capable of pulling away. And then you look at a team like USC, their biggest guy in the court that game was 6'10", and he was constantly being rotated out, and the second center was 6'7".
Right, that's not even a center almost.
Exactly. It's like playing small ball, like the Golden State Warriors having Draymond Green at center. But what did USC do well? Their guards were able to get into the paint and get those offensive rebounds because guess what? Arizona's guards aren't blocking out. There was so many times where I saw guys for USC in their backcourt where Gabe York would just be sitting there and the guy would just go right around him and get the rebound and go up and draw a foul. So
yeah, I think Gabe York's sometimes just interested in hitting that 3-ball and scoring points instead of doing the dirty work like Caleb Tarczewski and Dusan and Ryan Anderson. He needs to get more involved in that area. Even though he's a good shooter, he needs to help on the rebound side to create second opportunities.
Now let's take a look around teams in the Pac-12. Stanford taking on Washington. Washington. Disappointing loss against Cal last night, just losing by 3 in the closing seconds. Who do you got in that matchup?
I'm going to get Utah in that game.
Oh, no, Stanford, Washington.
Stanford, Washington. Oh, I'm sorry. I would take Stanford because they played Oregon really well, and I think they have some good players and can make some noise in the Pac-12 tournament.
All right, now we're going to go ahead and do next week. We got Utah taking on USC. That's the game that we were talking about. You got Utah, obviously, who's still kind of on the rise a little bit. They were a team that's trying to get into the tournament. USC, a very surprising team this year. They were at one point in time number 1 in the Pac-12. Who do you got in that matchup?
I got USC. I mean, I haven't seen a USC team this good until they had, when they had Nick Young and Taj Gibson. I think they're not as good as that team.
Name drop.
But I think they're, on par with that team, and I think USC can, quietly make some noise in the Pac-12.
Man, that's good stuff right there. Hey, let's go ahead and take a break. But when we come back, we're going to go ahead and talk NBA trade deadline and where a certain Wildcat is going. He might be in the NBA Finals this year. Stick around. More on the ball coming up next. Welcome back to On the Ball, everybody, right here on UATV. Of course, I'm your host, Justin Spears, joined alongside Brian Danziger. Now, we talked some Arizona hoops, taking on Arizona State and what the future holds for the Arizona Wildcats as March to the Madness is almost here. So now we're going to still stick with basketball. Why not talk about some NBA trade deadlines?
Keep the theme going.
Yeah. Well, we're already here talking about Arizona Wildcats. We might as well talk about one Wildcat who's probably going to the Eastern Conference Finals, most likely the NBA Finals, and that's Channing Frye. A 3-team deal between the Orlando Magic, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Portland Trail Blazers, sending Frye over to the Cavaliers and Anderson Varejao to Portland. Now, Channing Frye probably won't start because you got Timothy Mozgov, Kevin Love is still in the mix over there. But he's a guy that as soon as he comes off the bench, he's considered like a stretch 5. And even when he was playing in Arizona, he didn't have his jump shot. He was a strictly post man. Now he's developed his 3-point jump shot. Now he's getting into the 3-point contest, and now he's on an NBA championship caliber team. How excited are you for Channing Frye?
I think it's a great opportunity for him. He's not a star, but he's a great role player, and I think he can add that 3-point shot to the team and contribute and give him that X factor, that kind of that Ray Allen type of LeBron mixture that they had in the Heat when they won the championship game.
Now it's Ray Allen in a 6'10" body. That's basically what
scary.
Channing Frye is.
That's scary.
That's scary. But no, I think Channing Frye, because like I said, Timothy Mozgov will be the starting center. He's going to be the low post man, or Tim Mozgov will be the low post man that'll anchor him. But Channing Frye, if he comes off the bench, he doesn't even have to hit 20 points a game. Just go in there, hit a few 3-pointers, get some rebounds. I think that's going to be the most key for Channing Frye. So now we're going to go ahead and move on. Still in the state of Arizona, as my technical guys back there dabbing on him. You know what, Brian? Let's just go ahead and do it. Just 1, 2, 3.
Hey.
Anyways, sometimes you just got to dab it out. But anyway, so we'll talk Suns. The Phoenix Suns dealing Markieff Morris to the Washington Wizards for DeJuan Blair, Chris Humphries, and a first-round draft pick. Now, I think Washington got the bad end of the stick.
Yeah.
I had to bite my tongue there for a second. I almost said the wrong word, but but I think you know where I'm going at, America. But the Suns now getting a few players that they can actually build around. Or, I mean, DeJuan Blair's not a guy that you build around because obviously his knees are so bad. But Chris Humphries, he's a guy that comes in and gets you 6 rebounds a game and gets you 7 points.
Yeah, he could be like a Caleb Tarzuski, type player, getting those boards and, doing the dirty work for the team.
And plus, Markieff Morris choking Archie Goodwin and talking back to the coaches. The dude's a cancer. And I am so happy that he's gone because it wasn't like he was the kind of guy where he was acting like a butthead, but he was also getting you 20 points a game. No. That's not the case at all. Because if you ask me, that team revolves around Eric Bledsoe and the guards. Because no matter what you say, the Phoenix Suns will always be a guards team.
I agree.
And a guy like Markieff Morris that just comes in and totally screws up with that chemistry, he's got to go. And even him, I don't even think he's going to be in the NBA much longer.
If he keeps putting out this attitude and putting out this front, I don't think he'll be in the league that long. He's not tremendously talented. He's not like a shining star, but he's a solid piece if he can get his head on straight.
Yeah, and I always love to compare twins. Obviously, as a twin brother, Marcus Morris. He always complaining, I want to play with my brother. I want to play with my brother.
Yeah, he's a complainer.
But if you think, when the Lopez twins, when they came out of college in Stanford, they understood that they weren't going to be on the same team. Brooke Lopez has his legacy. Robin Lopez has his legacy. Yeah. They're both playing in New York right now, but they're not complaining about, I'm not playing with my twin brother because I played with him my entire life. That's stupid.
Yeah,
I hate that. I hate that about Markieff Morris.
He has to realize that the NBA is a business.
Yeah.
And you always can't play with your brother or a relative or whatever. You got to do you and make a career for yourself and not lean on other people to make your career for you.
Yeah, and you know what bugs me is that even some of the Suns front office were like defending Markieff Morris at the time that he choked Archie Goodwin on the sideline. I was like,
yeah, you don't defend a guy who does that stuff like that.
You don't do that.
No, not at all.
But speaking of NBA trade deadlines, there were supposed to be other big names possibly on the move. DeMarcus Cousins was rumored to go to Cleveland. At one point, there was even the Chicago Bulls getting in the mix, and the Chicago Bulls were also in the mix of getting Jahlil Okafor. There was just so many moving pieces, but they didn't happen. And even the Celtics GM, Danny Ainge, said today on 98.5 Sports Talk in Boston that they were very, very close on making a blockbuster trade. But you know what? Close only counts in horseshoes.
Yeah, so, I mean, there was a lot of rumors out there. There was Dwight Howard being shopped around. Blake Griffin might have been shopped around. But, none of that really happened. It was more strategic moves, trying championship teams trying to add pieces in order to, make a run at the title. And there wasn't any big names out there that, landed a deal. But, there were some good moves that some teams made.
I think one of the moves that actually is going to help a former Wildcat is Tobias Harris going to Detroit, in a trade. Now, Aaron Gordon, he could finally thrive as that power forward /3. I mean, obviously he got robbed in the dunk contest.
I agree.
Without a doubt. I'm sorry because one of our technical directors in the back is Joe, and he's a Seattle guy. So obviously he's showing support for his boy Zach LaVine. But Joe, I'm letting you know right now, Aaron Gordon deserved to win that dunk contest. No, I mean, doing between the legs from the free throw line is impressive. But like Sean Miller said in his press conference, anytime you're in the fetal position at the rim and you don't get a 50,
you got to give it to him.
That's robbery.
Yeah, I agree.
But now Tobias Harris going to Detroit. Now Aaron Gordon, he can start getting more minutes. He can actually start now.
Yeah.
I think this is a blessing in disguise for Aaron Gordon. He's going to shine.
I think so too, and I think he got a lot of publicity from that slam dunk contest. And the Orlando Magic are probably thinking, hey, this guy, can jump out of the gym. Let's put him in the starting lineup.
Jumping out of the gym.
Yeah.
Anyways, hey, let's go ahead and take one more quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk some Arizona football, and also we got a little guest coming on, and it's going to add some comedy. More on the ball coming up next. Welcome back to On the Ball, everybody. We talked some Arizona basketball. We also dove into some NBA trade deadline talk. Now, it's only best that since Arizona spring football is coming up, Now we bring on a guy that's at practice every single day. The man, the myth, the legend, UATV GM, and Arizona Athletics Director, videographer, Mr. Zach Hynek himself. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Zach Hynek, for joining the program.
Oh, it's good to be here,
Oh,
boys.
yes. Oh, yes.
Wow. Brian,
see you.
Justin. It's good to be back
Gotta
on the
have-
show, back on the squad. I'm feeling confident.
Now, who's going to win the college football championship this year?
College football championship this year. Should we just throw it up now and say the U? the Canes? No.
Oh,
You guys
no.
all know I'm a big Miami Hurricanes supporter. I've been one my entire life. So I think on my first show, me and Justin
Yeah.
whipped out the U hat and throwing it up there.
It's all about them Seminoles.
Shout out them Canes.
This is a topic for off camera because it's gonna get pretty heated here. Now, Zach, you're every day at Arizona football practice. You're there shooting. You're there in the hot sun. You're out there grinding. You're sweating. What are your thoughts on just the team in general from what you've seen so far?
I'm seeing a lot of energy out there. From the moment it was their first spring practice last Friday, and you could just tell they're implementing some new things structurally from a coach's standpoint.
Yes.
The players definitely seem like they're into it. Some of the most excited I've seen these players be. And I think coming off last season, there's not a whole lot of pressure on them like there was a season before for them to get back and really be in the groove and be something great. They were coming off their best season in how many years?
Since '98.
Since '98 last year, and I think this year they kind of was a little reality check for them. So I think they're just ready to get back to the grindstone and start hitting those bags hard, start hitting the weight room hard, and you could just tell it is kind of exciting atmosphere for that spring training.
And I'm glad you actually bring that up because, like you said, going to the Fiesta Bowl last year or 2 years ago, they had high hopes, especially because they got Scooby Wright coming back, everybody on that offense is coming back. What could go wrong? Everything went wrong last season for Arizona, and like you said, it brought them back down to earth. Their heads were so up here. Now they're back at a reasonable level because now they understand the Pac-12 is getting better. Arizona State's better. UCLA and USC still there. Stanford is starting to get back on top. Cal is getting better. Every single team in the Pac-12 is getting better. And I think going into this season much more hungry than they were last season. Oh man, they're gonna have a great season considering their home schedule. They have USC. They have Stanford at home. They even have BYU, which is still home, but it's in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
I think Arizona's schedule is going to be looking right for them. So we talked about the offense and that high-powered offense, the spread offense here at Arizona. Rich Rodriguez bringing back Nick Wilson and Orlando Bradford. Samaje Grant's coming back. But also a guy that I like for Arizona this season, and he's the only big receiver returning, and that's 6'3" receiver Trey Griffey. What do you think, Zach?
I think Trey Griffey is bringing a lot to that Arizona team, especially from a leadership standpoint.
Yeah.
He is one of their, I think there's 3 returning seniors that he has, and he is kind of, it seems like to me, I know we talked to him after the practice on Friday, it seems to me like he's really embracing that role a lot more, and he wants the ball in his hands. It seemed last year there were a lot of different characters that it could have gone to on the field, and there wasn't really a solidified wide receiver one on that core group. Still, I don't necessarily know if there is a wide receiver one in that group of receivers that they have. But that kind of brings me to a point that Rich Rodriguez had in his post-game interview or his post-practice press conference was there is no depth chart this year in terms of who's 1, who's 2, who's 3. For this spring training, for this summer camp, they're spending a lot more time developing all of their players and developing as a group and as a unit, as opposed to just singling out players, almost like a lot of pressure was on last year with Scooby Wright. Anu Solomon was in talks for a Heisman hopeful even, which was rather surprising after seeing the outcome of the season too. But I think that's just a difference between what they're trying to change from last year to this year is being more of a unit, being more of a collective group as opposed to singular players getting them to that next level.
What do you think, Brian?
I know, flipping the script here, I think spring practice, it's going to be Anu Solomon, Brian Dawkins, and the new guy, Khalil Tate.
Oh, man.
And
he looks good.
He looks good. So I think it's going to be one of the storylines in spring ball. And I think Brandon Dawkins might get the start. I saw a lot of promise from him in the ASU game. He's a big body. Anu Solomon just seems to be getting hurt all the time with the concussions, and I don't know. I think might be losing some trust in him. I think Brian Dawkins and then maybe Khalil Tate will, surprise some people and, make some appearances. He's kind of like, he can run the ball like crazy, and I think he can maybe come in some specialty packages.
Well, I see the three quarterbacks, and usually when it's a scenario like what it is this season, when there's three quarterbacks competing for a starting job, you'd expect there to be kind of like controversy where they kind of stand by themselves. They don't talk to each other.
Right.
But I see Anu Solomon at practice every day coaching up Brandon Dawkins. I see him coaching up Khalil Tate. So I think that's something that could help. I mean, obviously you shouldn't be coaching him too much if you're trying to get the starting job. But when I see them, all three of them work together, I think that's so great. And even Rich Rodriguez, going back to last season when he had Gerard Randall, I asked him in the press conference after a game, said, how important would Gerard Randall be to this program if you had him for 4 seasons? And Rich Rodriguez said, if I had him for 4 seasons, forget about it.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
I think this is something that we're going to see with Khalil Tate, because not only can Khalil Tate run the ball very well, but he has a cannon. And if he can stay around for 4 years and stay in that system and just perfect that offense,
yeah,
Khalil Tate is going to be a scary quarterback in the future for Arizona.
I agree.
I think about 2 years ago, I was roughly thinking the same thing for Anu Solomon as well when he was there. And you were kind of thinking if this guy sticks around for the entirety of his program, he could really develop into being something great. I just think we haven't really seen that transition from I would almost put him on an average category, an average standard, to that really exceptional category. I think it was kind of a little ridiculous that he was in the Heisman talk for the beginning of last season.
Yeah, it was way too early to be talking about that. And I'm no knock on Anu Solomon. He has some intangibles, and I think he has some potential. But he's losing traction, and I think these Brian Dawkins and Khalil Tate can give him a run for his money.
Well, one question I wanted to bring up to you guys, too, was how much of a leadership influence will Anu Solomon, Brandon Dawkins have on teaching Khalil Tate and getting him to that next level? Because there almost has to be some sort of expectation to the faster we start getting this guy reps, the faster we getting him involved in our program, the sooner we could expect him to step up and really be that kind of 3-year starter for us, that 2-year starter for us. So what do you think is the atmosphere for the team for that?
Well, I think it's going to be much like when Anu Solomon was sitting behind B.J. Denker. Now, obviously, B.J. Denker is not the best quarterback you should be learning from. Let's get the record straight here. But just understanding the offense, because B.J. Denker, even though he wasn't a great player, he was an intelligent player, and that's why he was able to do just enough to get Arizona those wins. So I think it's going to be the same thing with Anu Solomon. Is that Brandon Dawkins was under Anu Solomon for all these 2 years. And Brandon Dawkins has even been on UATV, who's actually joining us next week.
Awesome.
I got him. He couldn't join us this week because he's going to the Diamond Children's Hospital, doing his thing.
Right.
But anyways, Brandon Dawkins, if he sitting under Anu Solomon and studying him on how he controls the game and how he just has such a good handle on the tempo and how he controls the offense, that's going to be key, and it's going to be passed on, just like a torch. Anu Solomon passes down to Brandon Dawkins. Dawkins is going to pass it down to Khalil Tate, and I like the Arizona quarterback scenario right now.
Yeah, I think they have a good future with the quarterback group, and hopefully make some big things this year and seasons to come as well.
Now, Arizona defense getting a new look, adding Marcel Yates to the coaching staff, new defensive coordinator. And now they also got a new defensive line coach, former strength and conditioning coach, Vince Amy. And now they're introducing a 4-2-5. So it's not much different from the 3-3-5. It's just the only thing you're adding is an extra defensive lineman, adding an extra pass rush. And we all know in a pass-happy conference like the Pac-12, adding that extra pass rush is major key.
It is major key. DJ Khaled. I think the defense was not, as on par last year, and that was a big Achilles heel for them. And I think, if this new defensive coordinator coming, and I think they can really, turn the page and, get the defense going to help out the offense.
Bring back that Desert Swarm defense
exactly.
that we all know.
Yeah, one thing that I saw too during practice, one thing that they're implementing with the equipment managers in their program this year is after every big play that they do when they're in team offense and team defense, they're getting the equipment managers up and they're flagging their flags on them, their towels on them, and making everyone more excited. And that's something that I haven't seen in previous years. And just it seems like they're really trying to add a more stronger spirit to that defense, because anyone who's been to the games last year, it was kind of dull. It was kind of sluggish, and people were just moving kind of slow to the ball. And I think transitioning to that 4-2-5 is more of a response to 4-2-5. That doesn't make sense. 4-2-5 is really transitioning to taking less pressure off that linebacking core, and because they do have a stronger DB secondary with more utility players who can step up in more of a linebacker safety position, and I think that'll really help them out in the long run.
And I think that the two linebackers, obviously Derek Turi is coming back. He's going to be a big force in the middle, but you also have to think they have Kahi Nevis, who's part of that 2016 recruiting class. 3-star linebacker who actually decommitted from Utah and switched over to Arizona. He's enrolled for the spring semester, so he's active in spring football, so expect him to get some reps at first-team defense. And also the big safeties. You got Paul McGlure coming back, and even the corners, Devontae Neal, Sammy Morrison, Jarvis McCall, Tellis Jones is coming back, and then you add those three-star 6'2 safeties that are also coming in. So Arizona's defense is looking like they're going to be some stingy physical defense. So anyways, enough talk about Arizona football. We don't want to dive in too much. We'll save that for next week when we have Brandon Dawkins joining us. Now, of course, we got to end the show with our infamous segment, Bruh. Now let's go ahead and roll the first video. Now, Brian, you have a hoverboard.
I do.
Have you ever fallen off of it?
I have fallen off of it many times, and it's
we need that video.
It's disclosed footage, so you guys can't get a hold of that. But I have definitely have fallen, and it's definitely not pretty, but it's a good time.
Have you ever seen Mike Tyson fall off a hoverboard?
I actually haven't. Do you guys have that footage?
Let's go ahead and roll that video, Joe.
Oh.
Wow. You gotta love that confidence right there. That is some confidence he had at the beginning of that video.
Yeah, he was swagging out, thinking he's all that, and
my favorite part is just the cut at the end where he's the post-fight interview, and he's like, "I broke my back," and then he was like, "Is it a vertebrae?" And he's like, "No, it's spinal." with his lisp. So, I don't know about you guys, but growing up in a suburban neighborhood in Tucson, I've had to deal with kids in their Hondas adding those mufflers and the cars that just said like those street racing kids. Now, if you can't afford a decent muffler, a decent exhaust system, you could try it out an instrument. You don't want to know what that instrument is?
No. Yeah, let's find out.
Go ahead and roll that video, Joe.
Okay.
I got the good one.
Yeah.
All right, that wasn't the video that I sent over to our technical director, Joe. I'm so sorry about that. But anyways, that's a funny video. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a bunch of people getting the daylight scared out of them for a truck horn. But it was actually a car rolling down the street with a trombone playing. So it sounded like the car exhaust system. So, all right, and let's go ahead and roll into the video that we opened up with, because guess what? This is my life of the 2016 semester. Roll that video, Joe.
That last one was good.
That's my life right now in 2016 semester. All right, so two more bruhs. One of them is including a guy that just released a new album, The Life of Pablo, Mr. Kanye West himself.
Wheezy.
Wheezy? This ain't Lil Wayne, it's Yeezy.
I got it. Didn't get it right.
Get your Yeezys right. But no, Kanye West announced that after releasing his album that he is $53 million in personal debt.
That's shocking to me.
I mean, if you dump all that kinds of money in a clothing line and he's charging $400 for a T-shirt.
And also Miss
Bruh.
Kardashian.
Bruh.
Miss Kardashian is spending all that Kanye money.
On what?
Shoes.
Actually, it was actually believed that Kim Kardashian spends $2,000 every day on makeup.
Not surprised. Surprised.
Imagine every day, 7 days out of the week, and then you just keep adding on all that.
Definitely
I think
adds
the
up.
best quote I
That's my
heard
tuition.
was Trevor Noah tweeted at Kanye saying Kanye West is Kendrick Lamar if the Kardashians never got him.
Oh, damn.
Trevor Noah.
Yeah.
He knows what's
Trevor
up.
Noah. Quick shout out to Kendrick Lamar though, killing it at the Grammys. That was fire.
That was a great performance.
I'm a
by
big
the way.
fan of Kendrick Lamar. Great artist.
I mean, I've always loved the LA rap scene, but when what he did, walking out with the chain gang, and then his closing scene with all the cuts and him just going off, just spinning, just hot fire. Oh man, what a time to be alive!
What a time.
So many rap references in this show. I love it. Anyways, but Kanye West, he deserves a bruh. Anyways, last one, Nick Young, a.k.a. the artist formerly known as Swaggy P. During the trade deadline, he came in on Wednesday thinking it was Thursday, thinking that the Lakers didn't make any moves, and he was so happy. He thought that he got his days mixed up and was so happy that he didn't get traded. Little did he know that he was actually being shopped around that day.
Yeah.
And Byron Scott said Nick Young isn't doing a good job at staying up to date with current events. So I thought that was funny.
I thought it was pretty good of Swaggy P just being in there getting all confident and stuff. Imagine him in there feeling his good vibes. Just coming in. Hey.
Anyways, hey,
no,
Zach.
I think we do have a couple more that we added in.
Oh, wait. You had some.
I had to make a few installments being on the show, getting in there, have a quick little shout-outs,
Okay.
I wanted to talk about the All-Star Weekend. First off, quick shout-out to Aaron Gordon again, our man, bringing it home with a slam, got robbed out there. But what is the deal with Drake? And Drake just getting into every single person. You see him here at one of the potentially could have been the most legendary photos of all time. We got LeBron on Kobe, and here is Drake with his huge leather jacket with the Kobe imprint on the back, just trying to be all fly, and getting no love the entire weekend. I think we had another clip of Russell Westbrook's intro with Drake on stage, if we want to roll that.
Russell Westbrook!
That's what's up. Little B. See, this is why I love NBA basketball, because rappers can get so involved in it. I love how it's so mutual. You never see rappers get involved in the NFL, but it's like NBA players want to be rappers want to be NBA players. It's a mutual respect for it, and that's why I'm such a big Drake fan, because he's so involved in the basketball scene.
Yeah.
But anyways, like I said, Little B, Bass God, said that Russell Westbrook looks like a sandwich.
What?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
Little B's classic.
Yeah, that's the death of your career right there, too. You get called out by Bass God. You are as RIP to the rest of your career.
Just hand him an L.
Handing out L's.
Handing
Handing out L's.
Hey, Joe, we got to show one more video, though, of Jared Allen announcing his retirement, which I think is the best way anyone could announce their retirement. Go ahead and roll that video, Joe. We're going to go ahead and get that up, but, he was riding off into the sunset on a horse.
No.
Well, everyone, I just want to say thank you for an amazing 12-year career. This was the part where I was going to ride off into the sunset, but seeing how there's no sunset, I'm just going to ride off.
Hey, riding off into the sunset.
No better way to do it. I mean, he had a great career, and just top it off with riding off on a horse.
Do you think Jared
why not?
Allen could have gone a year or two more in that career? I thought it was relatively surprising that he was out so soon, especially coming from the success that he has.
Yeah.
You see, like, Julius Peppers coming in there playing until he's, God knows, 100.
Yeah.
And then we got Jared Allen getting out of there, too.
But in Jared Allen, he's also on that Carolina defense where he doesn't have to do too much work because he's got so many of those weapons around him. So, but you know what? I think Jared Allen is having a better retirement week than Peyton Manning. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. So, as bad as that sounds, we're just going to go ahead and leave it at that, and we're going to ride off into the sunset because we got places to be, and we got people to meet. We got kisses to hand, or hands to kiss, and babies to shake.
There we go.
Does that make sense?
No, it does not.
Yeah,
Not
babies
on our
to shake.
station.
We got babies to kiss, and we got hands to shake.
Yeah.
That's how we're going to end it. So, anyways, thank you for joining us on The Ball. Again, don't forget to tune us next Friday from 11 to 12. Don't forget to follow our YouTube page, and don't forget to like us on Facebook. See you next week.